I'm Claytee White, the director of the Oral History Research Center at UNLV. Las Vegas is a true tourism town, and we've done it better than anyone else. We have the entertainment that brings visitors here. Started with the Hoover Dam. Tourism started because people wanted to see this amazing 1930, and you've got something as amazing as this in the desert. We want to see it. So tourism began. And to support that, then we had to have hotels where they could stay. And then in 1931, gambling is legalized. And during segregation, you couldn't go to the Strip or downtown casinos. So you would go to Jackson Avenue. And you would take your best shoes as well as something else comfortable because you're going to be dancing all night and you're going to be walking on unpaved streets, going from one nightclub to another. So women didn't want to spoil those beautiful heels on your high heel shoes. So they would take them off and carry them in the hand to the next club. And if you want to take someone out to dinner or go out to dinner with your family, all kinds of restaurants were in the area. You could see movie stars in that area, Nat King Cole. You could see someone like Johnny Mathis buying records in the record shop, or somebody like later on, like Muhammad Ali buying records in that record shop. That record shop is still in business today. So the movie stars and the entertainers who came here in the 40s, 50s, and 60s before they could stay anyplace else, stayed in the Black community. They spent money in the Black community. They went to restaurants in the community, to the record shop. Never heard about anybody going to church, but they also interacted with school events, sometimes with community events, because we have photographs to prove that. So they actually became a part of the community. Some of the entertainers were coming for 2 weeks at a time, and then a couple of months later, another 2 weeks or a 3-week engagement. So they were here often. Kids in the community knew when they were coming, and they would walk up and down the sidewalk in front of whatever boarding house they were staying at, and they would engage them in conversation. The boarding houses had small rooms, and I don't know how they spent so many hours in those small places, and probably would come out often because kids would engage them in conversations. We had people talk about them doing jam sessions. After coming from their performances on the Las Vegas Strip, they would go to one of the nightclubs on the West Side, and they would engage in a jam session that would last for hours. You know, Nat King Cole in the Louisiana Club, or Pearl Bailey in another club, and they're singing, and they are entertaining just like they did on the Las Vegas Strip. And they knew them so well that at one of the clubs, Pearl Bailey's glass for her champagne would already be chilled when she got there. So they got to know those entertainers well. They engaged with them, they enjoyed their company, and they spent money in the Black community. So that was really, really important. They were earning, at one point, Nat King Cole was earning $50,000 a week. And at the same time, a maid working in a casino was earning $8 an hour. So that divide was real. I don't think most entertainers really wanted to be on the West Side. They wanted to be in those wonderful rooms at the Desert Inn and the Sands, where they should have been. I think that's where they wanted to be. They were accustomed to that kind of treatment in other cities. Let's take Los Angeles. Even when segregation was rampant in Los Angeles, there were still hotels, not boarding houses, but nice hotels in the Black community where they could stay. We didn't have those hotels here until later on. Some casinos put a mobile home on the property for Black entertainers. And some of them made other kinds of accommodations until gradually Nat King Cole was able to stay at the Thunderbird, and other entertainers were able to stay in other locations. It happened gradually, but it didn't happen in a uniform fashion until after integration had taken place. So, yes, some of them could leverage. And I think also that some of them had white managers that made arrangements for them. We know of one incident that Lena Horne was here early on, and she was performing at the Flamingo, and her manager was able to make arrangements that she could stay at the Flamingo. This was before Bugsy Siegel was murdered, and he allowed that at the Flamingo. Lena Horne was married to a white person at the time, and they made those arrangements for her. And the rumor goes that her sheets were burned every morning. We don't know how true that is, but it sounds like Las Vegas. So people will tell you that desegregation happened because Frank Sinatra said to the people in the Sands, if Sammy can't stay here, we're not going to perform tonight. Now, it could have taken place one night at the Sands, but that is not what happened in the city of Las Vegas. So early on in March of 1960, the president of the local branch of the NAACP is Dr. James B. McMillan, his first Black dentist here in the city. He receives a letter, as do all presidents all over the country, from the head office of the NAACP. And it is asking NAACP branches to up-level their protest and their protests for integration, to up-level that movement, to make it happen. So James B. McMillan sends a letter to the mayor of Las Vegas and tells him, if in 2 weeks this city is not integrated, African Americans are going to march down the strip on a Saturday night. So he gives him until March 26th. And during the meantime, that 2-week period, there are negotiations back and forth with the owners of casinos, with the powers that run the city, other than casino owners, the governmental forces, and the Black community. They're negotiating back and forth for that 2-week period. Dr. McMillan is not safe during that period. His life is threatened, and Black men in the communities actually guard his house. And Dr. McMillan writes a book called Fighting Back about this time period. So we kind of know what happened. They make an agreement, and that agreement is discussed at the Moulin Rouge on a Saturday morning, and they integrate the city that evening. The Black community has already started practicing and up-leveling their activities because they're ready to march down Las Vegas Boulevard on a Saturday night. But that doesn't happen. The city is integrated without that effort. But couples from the NAACP go throughout the city that night, and they test the integration agreement. Now, people come here and they ask us to see that agreement. It was verbal. so that we have nothing in writing to prove that. We have newspaper articles because one person sitting around that table that day is Greenspun, the owner of the Sun newspaper. So we have the articles from that newspaper talking about that meeting. So we know that it took place and that it actually happened. Now, they say that Blacks wanted jobs on the Las Vegas Strip as part of that agreement. Now, that didn't happen. They got the right to go into the casino, to have dinner, to go to shows, and to gamble, not to work in those jobs that they really wanted. That's why at the end of the 1960s, we have that first riot, that riot of 1969. And then in 1971, we have that consent decree that demands jobs. 17 different casinos on the Las Vegas Strip. They have to sign a decree that they're going to honor that mandate, that federal legal mandate, and integrate those jobs. So integration takes place in two separate events. One in 1960, when we have the integration of public accommodations, and then in 1971, when the job portion of that is enacted as well. Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, all those people had taught us that we couldn't be afraid. Here locally, people like Donald Clark and J. David Hogarth and Dr. West and Dr. Macmillan and Lubertha Johnson and on and on and on. They had taught us we can't be afraid. How can we get what we need if we're going to be afraid? Martin Luther King Jr. taught us that we cannot be afraid. You know, you can't even be afraid of water hoses and dogs being set on you. So I've never heard people in the Black community speak about fear, especially in cities. It's different in isolated rural areas. Now that's different, where the KKK can come for you at night and it's just you and your family out someplace. That's different in cities. They can't come like that. So in cities, people don't think about those kinds of things. It is easier to be brave and to be courageous and to just stand up in a city than it is in the South. In the South, we heard those horror stories about the KKK burning crosses and hanging people and all of that. We don't get that in the West. Now, we get systemic racism without a doubt. We get systemic racism. We still have it today. But it wasn't those fearful, harmful things, except for the police. Because the police officer walking your block can take away your freedom. The city of Las Vegas hasn't done all that it should have done over the years. Yes, great strides have been made. And people say, you want to go too fast. So unfortunately, we still have to police everybody so that they will do the right thing. It's just not fair. It is time that there's some equity, there's some fairness. It is owed to the Black community and other communities as well. I champion the Black community because I know it so well and I've lived it for so many years that I champion that. So, and something has to happen. And I'm hoping that we are seeing the beginnings of that here in the West Side.